Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, which means this is the Blueprint Power Hour, where we answer your questions about training, nutrition, drugs, everything. There's nothing that's off topic for discussion. If you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your questions. We'll work them into the show. Also, if you can't be here live and you want a question answered, send it to onair@superhumanradio.net, and I'll send it over to Coach Rob, and he'll answer it for you on one of the upcoming shows. Later in the show, we're going to talk about a new product made by a company called Carnivores Snacks that I am in love with. This is probably the single most unique, delicious, meat-based snack I've ever had. And we're going to talk about it later in the show. You're going to want to hear more about it. I promise you, you'll love it. Before we get started, we have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary, use the code SHR10, you'll save 10% off these amazingly decadent tasting pastries. They originally were supposed to be like a Pop-Tart, but they become so much more, and the flavors are amazing. Red velvet cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar, cinnamon, chocolate cake, birthday cake. I'm missing one here. Oh, cookies and cream. I think I'm still missing another one. But the flavors are amazing, and everybody who has them, even Coach Rob talked about it last week, that they were so much better than he thought they were going to be, and that's what everybody says. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary, use the code SHR10. Listen during the commercial breaks. You'll hear a secret word. Email that secret word to onair@superhumanradio.net along with your mailing address, and we'll send you a free box to try. Doesn't get any better than that. Without further delay, let me get my guest in here and play his music.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
So just for full disclosure, Coach may have to get up and leave in the middle of the show. We're going to see how long he lasts, but there's some things going on with his wife that may require him to get off the air quickly. So you've been warned. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing well. It is 77 degrees here. But more importantly, I can attest to what you just said about tasty pastries. I have had the red velvet cake. That is my favorite. But I also had the birthday cake yesterday, and it was outstanding. It's a close number two.
Yeah. Wait until you try blueberry. Wait until you try strawberry, because these are reminiscent of the old tasty pastries, especially strawberry. And I never knew this, but the most popular selling Pop-Tart in the world is the brown sugar cinnamon, and they have a brown sugar cinnamon tasty pastry that's out of this world. So if
I can't wait.
Have them. Yeah. Yeah, they're great. They really are great. Anything to report about training?
Training is going well. I started back, what was it, Monday, yesterday. Everything felt good, felt real good. With the exception of this elbow, but it is what it is, right? I mean, personally, I consider myself fortunate. If I had arthritis in a knee or a hip or a weight-bearing joint, it'd be another story. But, you deal with it.
Yeah, you can work around the elbow. All right, the first question comes from Jerry Zaganovich. He says, I'm 14 and really underweight. Wow, we have a young listener here. So I need to gain muscle. To be totally honest, I'm a little intimidated by the gym and not quite sure what I should be doing. What would you suggest?
Well, 35, 40 years ago, I stepped into a gym for the first time too, and was so intimidated. All I did was sit at the desk and watch. But it's true for all of us, right? At some point, we are stepping into an environment that we are unfamiliar with. We're certainly no expert, but it's somewhere that we want to be. So, the question becomes, how do you bridge into that? I would tell you a couple of things. First things first, I would not worry what other people think. I've heard this over and over, especially from women. They don't want to go out on the floor where the weights are because they don't want to feel stupid. Look, once you start changing your behavior to suit whoever you think is, judging you, things go south fast. And that's not just in weight training, but many other endeavors in life. One of the best things you can do, even before getting to the gym, is to read. Get online, read. Open a book, read. And once you've done that, if you think about it, you're starting to build what's necessary to get effective muscle building workouts in.
Well, do you suggest they read specific things about training?
I think reading about training, different training philosophies, different training programs, and even just getting the lingo down. Let's face it, we sort of have our own little language at times, and so they can start to get familiar with it. The single biggest thing, though, that I think would help most new trainees is this: get a training partner, right? Ideally, you want someone that's bigger and stronger than you, someone that's roughly the same age, right? Especially around, the teenage years, 14, 15, 16. And on that score, your friends at school, you may have brothers that you can at least ask. Partners serve many purposes. They will be waiting for you on every training day, right? Waiting for you to show up at the gym. They're going to be counting on you to spot them, which is a huge responsibility. And they may also ask to give them feedback, right, on your form and other lifts. If you no-show one too many times, you're going to hear about it. And in a word, these training partners breed accountability. Other things, given your age and test levels, it should breed a sense of competition between you two. And I'm talking about healthy competition. You should crave every opportunity to outlift him, because even if you can't, but you come close, you will have, performed better than you otherwise would in almost every case, right? These people should also be well-read. They should have done some homework before stepping in there. It's also key that they have a personality where you have a very free and open exchange of ideas. So the old saying here, 2 heads are better than one, absolutely. It really does apply in weight training. Having said that, once you decide on a training method or strategy, there should be no deviating from it for 4 to 6 weeks, especially when you're brand new. You need to give things a chance to see how your body responds to it. So stated another way, a good partner, and remember, you're the other half of this partnership. A good partner is going to keep the other person from program hopping, because in today's day and age of the internet, there will always be another program that looks even better, right, than the one you're on. Some more tips. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. You know, people have been getting bigger and stronger with weights, you know, for many hundreds of years. Before that, calisthenics, hundreds, if not thousands of years. The key point is this: study people, watch. Most people learn by watching. I'm one of them, and maybe asking a few questions. But even if it's just while you're doing your, you know, cardio or walking on the treadmill, study people, study the successful people, because success leaves clues. Also, listen. There are a lot of young kids that just don't listen or won't listen. Some of the best advice I ever got was from old timers who I asked a very simple question: how did you build the amount of muscle that you have now, right? Or how did you get as strong as you are now? That is likely quite a different answer, by the way, than how they're training now. Like, so someone like me, who's now in my 50s, I'm training in a way that I did not train when I was younger. When I was younger, it was powerlifting. It was barbells and dumbbells. Or today, it's calisthenics. But, you know, I'm training that way for a reason. Just make sure you ask the right questions, because how they're training today likely is not how they built their muscle initially. Here's one suggestion that very few guys try, and it's just simple: hire a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be forever. It might be for 6 weeks or 2 months. But, I mean, think about it logically. Who likely knows more that's going to help you? Some guy who's been doing it for 30 years and makes a living doing it? Or somebody who's been training for 5 years, he's been on creatine and or the gas since day one, and he can't walk past a mirror without flexing. You're going to see a lot of people like that at the gym. I'm telling you now, hiring a trainer, a good trainer, is money well spent. They can save you a ton of money. And then finally, set realistic goals. A 300-pound bench, 400-pound squat, 500-pound deadlift is still an excellent benchmark for young, drug-free guys looking to maximize their size and strength, or at least get to a level that is very respectable in any gym in the world. You know, you might not be a world record holder, but there are not a lot of people, and I lift in a pretty hardcore gym. There are not a lot of people that hit that 300, 400, 500-pound mark and consistently. So you will make some mistakes, but you'll make fewer of them if you take some of those suggestions, and I hope they help.
Good advice. Good advice. Yeah. And remember, you're 14. You're going to be training for the rest of your life. Right. Don't be in a rush. You'll make all the gains that you want. John Welch says, I've always been a big kid, big as in overweight. I'll do anything to get this far fat off. I guess he's carrying too much body fat, and have tried a lot of stuff. What is the best fat burner that works and is at least reasonably safe? What's the best kind of cardio I can do to burn fat? I mean, I don't mean to derail this question.
Yep.
But if you're hoping for cardio and fat burners to help you get lean, you're not going to be satisfied with anything, because it's all about diet. It's all about diet. It's all about diet. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rob, but
well, you know, different spin on that answer, I guess. The two absolute best fat burners that work and are safe are exercise and keeping insulin low and or steady. And you can do that a number of ways, but it's another way of saying diet. And diet's huge. You can train perfectly with weights, but if you're still eating too much food or the wrong foods, then you will not lose fat. And so when I say, you know, it's diet and exercise, I'm not being flippant, but I am being honest. If you don't have those two down, plus sleep, right? The fundamentals. You can use the best fat burner in the world and you won't lose fat. So let me give you an example, because this happens all the time. I have met several folks over the years who have done no exercise, not tracked in calories, carbs, nothing. But they've used plenty of ephedrine and caffeine and yohimbe and other fat burners. And EC, by the way, I do consider the best legal fat burner you can purchase and use. But the problem is they'll take ephedrine and caffeine, and of course they feel it. Then they'll either sit down to watch TV, right, or otherwise not exercise, and maybe drive or go to work, something. It's not going to work. Why? Because the ephedrine and caffeine will mobilize stored body fat, mobilize those fatty acids into the bloodstream, where in the absence of an energy demand exercise or an energy deficit diet, they simply redeposit themselves as body fat. These people are perplexed, right? Number one, because they've been lied to. Burn fat with no effort. Come on. Number two, because they can feel the EC working, the stimulant effect. So they think they must be burning fat. Look, your best bet is to first thing, as you said, Carl, diet. You can do it with lower calories. You can do it with lower carbs. But the common denominator in all successful fat loss diets is keeping insulin low and or steady. I would tell you got two great options. One's the anabolic diet for cutting, works great for many. And two, caloric zigzags, 100% of maintenance on training days, 70% on off days. As far as training goes, I've always maintained your best bet is to lift weights quickly. And so what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, you choose 5 to 7 compound exercises. Can be weights, can be body weight, doesn't matter as long as they're compound. And rifle through them with little to no rest. Okay. The nice thing about that versus the treadmill and the bike to nowhere is that it causes a massive release of growth hormone. It builds muscle, which burns the fat, not just while you're exercising, but 24/7, right? Three of those workouts a week is plenty. I've seen people even burn fat on just 2 of them. The other 2 days a week, you go ahead and perform some form of high intensity interval training, cardio. That might be spinning, that might be sprinting, that might be sled pushes and pulls, might be burpees. Occasionally, you'll need to perform a low intensity steady state session for the same reason you can't train flat out with weights all the time. Any high intensity exercise, you need to balance with the appropriate amount of rest. But when it comes to conditioning, high intensity interval training, 20 to 40 minutes should be a cornerstone. Those training modifications, by the way, are so powerful. I've seen people, and more than a few, do no cardio at all and simply train in that fashion that I just described. They lose tons of fat. Okay. If you do all those things correct and get a good night's sleep, and then you add ephedrine caffeine to that, you are pretty much doing everything humanly possible to lose the chub.
And then do it consistently for weeks and months. See, this is where people get lost. They don't see anything happening in 2 weeks. Oh, I must be doing something wrong. Let me go switch and do something else. None of this stuff happens fast. The fat burner ads and magazines, they're lying to you. I mean, a bodybuilder who stays relatively close to contest condition takes 16 to 20 weeks to get shredded. Right. Think about that. You've got body fat, you're saying. How long is it going to take? It's definitely going to take more than 20 weeks for you. If a bodybuilder who's walking around, and we're envious of them, they're like, oh my God, look, you can see his abs and everything like that. Take 16 to 20 weeks to get contest ready. That means it may take you a year of doing these things every day without fail to see the results you want. I'm doing this myself. I know I'm not going to see the changes I want this month or even next month. I got from now till next year this time to see what I look like. So you got to be realistic about the time that all of this takes.
If you bring up a really good point, and I'm always, I assume people understand that. That's not always the case. One quick story along those lines. Somebody saw me for the first time since high school. And he looked at me and he said, my God, you must be 100 pounds heavier. How'd you do it? And my answer to him was very simple. I said, I started 35 years ago and I never stopped. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I never stopped. And translated, I was always consistent. I never stopped training. I might not have trained as effectively or as smart, intelligently as I could have at times, but I never stopped. And that is a huge part of the secret, consistency.
So also, the other thing that you should do is this. Hunger is your friend. Hunger is something you want to feel. Like, how people talk about, I got the pump, I feel the pump. I trained today. I feel the pump. I feel the pump. You need to feel hungry, really, all the time. Like, immediately after one of your meals, you should not be satiated. You should not be like, wow, man, I am so full. No, you should literally finish eating and go to yourself, I could eat so much more right now. Yeah. Great. Stay there. Because without going and getting some sort of basal metabolic rate testing and bomb calorimeter and all this other stuff, say, your maintenance level of calories is 3,000 calories a day. Without doing anything sophisticated like that, you must be in a caloric deficit all the time for your body to go after body fat. Remember, body fat is the money you saved for rainy days, right? You got that money you have in your account. You never let your account go below that because that's just in case money, right? Well, fat is just in case metabolic currency. Fat is like, you get sick or famine hits us. Because remember, for millions of years, famine was a reality. We're still encoded for that. It only goes after fat when there's not enough calories being taken in every single day.
Yep.
So you must be hungry all the time. You must fall in love with hunger. You must say to yourself, I'm hungry. I feel so wonderful. Because that's the exact opposite. Most people say, I'm hungry. I'm miserable. I need to eat. No, you need to, every meal you walk away from, you should still be hungry.
Old timer told me once, if you feel hungry, it's a pretty solid bet you're starting to burn stored body fat.
Of course.
So.
Of course. Hey, let's get this next question up here from one of the live listeners here.
Okay.
So this one, I don't see a name. He says, Rob, how's jiu-jitsu going? I'm 47 and thinking of starting, but have previous lower back issues and don't want to compromise my lifting too much. Any advice?
First off, it's going well. I am probably going to be joining a new school soon. I've been putting that off only because I have 2 hernias. And originally I was going to have surgery on those. And as you know, the recovery period is at least a month. But be that as it may, I've been working with some one-on-one coaching. I've also been practicing. Early on, I purchased a book on Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. All of the moves, all of the pictures of how to perform the moves. And I'm telling you, even just flipping through that helps. Actually doing it is better because you're building muscle memory. But the book helps and helps a lot. The other thing I'll say is I am working incredibly hard on my conditioning, even harder than my calisthenics. And what I've arrived at is what I call combat cardio or combat conditioning. I'm hitting the heavy bag real hard for 30 seconds. I'm sprinting over to a sled that's loaded with a decent amount of weight, that I sprint with down to the other end of the facility. I hop on one of those resistance bikes, where you're pumping with your arms and legs, sprint on that for 30 seconds to a minute, and then it's back to the sled and push it back to the starting point. It's grueling. I'll rest 1 minute and then do it again. I'm up to 8 rounds, and today or tomorrow I'll be going for 9 or 10. And it takes approximately 20 minutes. It's hell on earth. I've never sweat as much in my life. But if it's jiu-jitsu you're asking about and you're listening to this show, you probably, like me, you've got enough muscle. What you need is better conditioning, heart and lungs.
Bro, do you even towel row on YouTube says, have you ever heard of people taking 300 to 500 milligrams of ubiquinol pre-workout? Any idea what the benefits of this could be or how it could enhance your workout? I know I use ubiquinone actually, but I take 600 milligrams pre-workout.
Coenzyme Q10, right? By another name.
Yeah.
So when that originally was brought to the sports nutrition market, I don't know if it was 10, 12, 15 years ago, it was complexed with creatine, and there was a lot of speculation that it was going to help creatine work even better. I can tell you coenzyme Q10 is used in congestive heart failure in Japan. I don't know if that's spread to other countries, but that should speak volumes, I think, to people. It's intimately involved in energy production. It's in almost every cell in the body, but especially around the heart. And I would say between that and the Krebs cycle and some of those intermediaries, that's money well spent. It's expensive, but it is, and especially think of this as you age, right? And just an FYI for anyone on statins or know someone on statins, they do a real nice job of depleting the heart of coenzyme Q10. So it's something that I think is smart to supplement. Talk to your doctor, but I would not want to be using a statin. I wouldn't want to be using a statin, period. But if I had to, I'd be using coenzyme Q10. And probably 100 milligrams of it at least.
And that's where the magic is. It supports heart function. Take coenzyme Q10, either ubiquinone or ubiquinol, and not tyrosine. I can't think of the amino acid right now. It just jumped out of my head. But
taurine.
Supports taurine. Thank you. Take those two pre-workout. They do amazing things for the heart. When we talk about heart, we're talking about limitations on training because there are feedback loops in your brain that keep your heart from going too far. And by using CoQ10 and taurine together, you can actually get more effort out of your heart. So that really is where the magic is. You hit it right on the head with that one. All right. So next question comes from Dustin Reynolds. He says, I know MRPs are dead, but of the following products, which one do you think is best? Metrix, Myoplex, Nitro Pro 40, Isopure, Lean Body. You're missing one. That's really, really good. And that's the one from Aaron Singerman's company, Redcon One. They have an amazing MRP.
I was a little surprised to get this question because MRPs are kind of something that they haven't disappeared entirely, but they went from being, way up there to, I don't want to say falling out of favor, but they're just not used as much anymore. And there's some reasons.
I think their carb sources determined whether or not people were going to use them. We got wise over the past decade. We got wise about carbs and insulin and glucose, and the MRPs of yesteryear were, like maltodextrin and whey protein powder.
Right.
That was it.
Right. And so I'll try to take these one by one. The original Metrix that's not around anymore, hasn't been for a long time, came in a base and plus canisters. Other than the carb source, which if I recall correctly was maltodextrin, it was one of, if not the best, at least early on. And what was the real magic there? micellar casein. Up until that point, we had all been using milk and egg protein, and then whey was brand new. So micellar casein and its properties were kind of ushered in by that product. Myoplex, the original was a decent MRP for the money, although I'd still say it was a notch behind the original metrics. I have heard rumors that Bill Phillips would be relaunching it, although I've seen no evidence of that anywhere. Maybe I missed it, but that's Myoplex. Nitro Pro 40, this one made me smile. AST Research used to put this out when they were an innovative company. It had a little bit of NAC, N-acetylcysteine, in it, highlighted as a very important ingredient. They were positioning it as an anti-catabolic. That's not entirely untrue, but it is what it is. I will say this: they had a soft vanilla ice cream flavor. I don't even like vanilla, and I still wish that was on the market. Isopure, they have one of, if not the highest protein contents, 50 grams per pack. Most of the MRPs I've seen are between 30 and 40. But it's whey isolate only, and there is some sort of thinning or dispersion agent that they use in it. And it works, no clumps whatsoever. But to me, it tasted like chemicals, and it was too watery for my liking. Lean Body, that's Labrada's brand.
Yeah, Labrada, yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the better ones. His products do tend to meet label claims where they've been tested that I've seen, which is something you can't say about a lot of brands. Weider had one too. I can't for the life of me remember the name. It tasted like sand. And I can't imagine anyone, downing multiple doses a day of it. Even the wrestler Triple H, who advertised it heavily. I really doubt he was using it because it tasted that bad. I think the single, in the context of history, though, the single most important MRP that ever hit is one that isn't on this list. Very few people probably remember it. It was a product by the name of Metabolol by Champion Nutrition.
Mm-hmm. I remember the name.
Yeah, and so shortly after Carboplex hit the scene, Champion comes along with Metabolol. It really was the first meal replacement product because it featured high quality proteins. I think they were milk and egg, a short and a long chain carbohydrate. So if I'm not mistaken, it was a maltodextrin, but it was tailored to certain properties, as well as a small amount of medium chain triglycerides, vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes. Believe it or not, it actually tasted pretty good too. It actually was one of, if not the best tasting product out at the time. It came in chocolate, and it didn't upset your stomach. So it predated weight gainers, so we're talking sometime in the early to mid 80s. Interesting story. Shortly afterward, Champion introduced Metabolol 2, which featured Krebs cycle intermediates, in particular succinic acid. And that's significant, if only for the fact that David Jenkins, the Champion CEO, had hired Dan Duchesne to work on the formula. They were originally going to use creatine, but instead thought that succinic acid had more potential. And it's hard to blame them because in addition to its enzyme activity, it combines with protein to rebuild muscle fiber and nerve endings. So, I guess if I saw that and I was formulating it, I'd use it too. But had they picked creatine, think about how things would have changed, right? I mean, if nothing else, Dan Duchesne wouldn't have retired broke despite his contributions to sports nutrition. So having said all that, they've really lost popularity because of, one, RTDs are easier, ready to drink products. And number two, when the price of protein skyrocketed, people figured out they weren't paying for the maltodextrin or the vitamins and minerals in MRP. They were paying for the protein, so they just went with big jugs of protein. Having said all that, I have not used the Redcon 1 product.
It's the best. It's the best.
Is it?
Not only from a flavor standpoint. First of all, they have meal replacement powder. They have RTDs that you just put in the fridge and drink when you want. Yep. And they have an MRP bar. So they have MRPs in any form or fashion that you prefer.
Wow.
4 grams of fat in the powder. 47 grams of high quality protein. I'm going to list the protein for you.
47.
75 grams of carbs. Oatmeal are the carbs. 530 calories. See, here's the layout. First ingredient, rolled oats. Whole food protein blend, beef protein isolate, pea protein, brown rice protein, chicken protein, egg protein, and salmon protein.
Wow.
Find me any other MRP that has these types of protein in it.
Even half of those.
And it tastes, and the flavors are amazing. The flavors are amazing. And you're talking about oatmeal is the king of carbohydrates in bodybuilding. Yep. Doesn't get any better than Redcon 1. I think that if you use the code SHR or SHR20, you'll save 20% off on everything at their website. Yeah. Great.
Give it a go.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have more questions and more to talk about. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/betterhelp. That's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon 1. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon 1. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon 1 banner ad today. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that, do this, avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside. Attention meat lovers. I've discovered a snack with just 2 ingredients, meat and salt. That is so tender and delicious, you almost can't believe it. That's right, no soy, sugar, or other crap. Our partner, Carnivore Snacks, nailed it with these mouth-watering snacks. They have a variety too: ribeye, pork loin, leg of lamb, and more, all sourced here in the USA from regenerative farms. Claim your superhuman offer from Carnivore Snacks today at shrnetwork.biz/snacks. That's SNAX. Use the code superhuman for 15% off your first order, plus a free 2-ounce pork loin.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Welcome back. I'm chewing gum. My throat, I get this tickle in my throat, and chewing gum helps. Carnivore Snacks, amazing. I can't describe it to you. Everything is sliced so paper thin that it's crunchy and tender at the same time. And the fat on the pork loin, I mean, they sent me some samples. I ate them all in a day. Now, I know I'm a hog, but this is a product that I really think is amazing. If you're someone who likes meat snacks because you're carnivore or you're low carb, this product is amazing. You may not want to buy it, because once you buy it, you're not going to want to be without it. So, all right, let's go to the next question. Drew Barker says, excuse me. I'm interested in long-term food storage and would like your opinion about what to purchase. Some of this is due to having been through some tough times, and some is simply economics. Well, I just plugged Carnivore Snacks. If you want to talk about long-term food storage, their product will work for that. No doubt about it. But go ahead, Rob.
Well, he's asking.
There's a second part here. I shop at wholesale places, so big quantities are all I can purchase. Any thoughts?
Yeah. If we step away from bodybuilding just for a second, what he's asking about here is important. And it's not just about saving money. Our food supply operates on a just-in-time model, what's called a just-in-time model. And what that basically means is disruptions to the food supply are a very real possibility. And it's not going to take much, unfortunately, to cause it. You sort of saw that when COVID hit, but that was nothing compared to the full-scale panic that would ensue if people, got to the grocery store and there's nothing on the shelves, not for a day, but for weeks or months. Now, I don't think you need to go out and get a year's worth of food or have livestock or necessarily even plant a huge garden. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. For most people, though, it's just not practical. Instead, I would encourage you to consider just having a minimum 3-day supply of enough food and water for every member of your family. 3 days. Why 3 days? I did not arrive arbitrarily at that number because FEMA has done studies on all kinds of disasters. And what they came, the conclusion that they came to was basically this. If you can survive the first 72 hours of a crisis, the likelihood that you will survive the entire ordeal skyrockets. So let's bring this back to bodybuilding foods type now. First things first, you need to consider what type of foods to stock up on. If you're buying lots of meat, chicken, fish, eggs, you're going to need a bigger refrigerator or another refrigerator. We have a small one in the basement.
Or a good reach-in freezer. They're only a couple $100 at Home Depot.
Yeah. Something that holds enough meat, for you and your spouse and or family members. What do you do, though, let's just throw this at you because our power grid isn't far behind the food supply. What happens if the power goes out? If you've got a huge freezer or plural freezers full of, that type of meat, chicken, fish, steak, you're looking at a big loss financially, right? If you do live up here, like we do in a cold climate for 6 months out of the year, that'll help. So you can, as a backup, I would suggest having a large cooler. Find one with a good lock on it, because depending upon where you live, bears and other critters will smell it.
Humans.
What's that?
Humans, your neighbors will come and steal your food.
Yeah. And it's like, we laugh about that, but listen, when people start starving and their children start starving, otherwise normal law-abiding people will do desperate things. Desperate people do desperate things. But anyway, where to go from there? If you don't want a huge freezer full of stuff, you can go with freeze-dried or dehydrated foods. You can consider those. Everything from military-style MREs, meal ready to eat, or camping foods, and I would suggest the Mountain House or the Happy Yak brands. You don't want to stock up on a bunch of that freeze-dried food that tastes like dog food, because you won't use it. The brands I recommended were a little more expensive, but that food's going to last a good 25 years or so. I'm pretty sure it's rated to at least that amount without any refrigeration whatsoever. And believe it or not, many of these things taste not just good, but great. Like, I would eat them all the time if it were not for the expense. With the MREs, the military MREs, you can just add water and it heats up via some kind of chemical reaction. I don't know specifically what it is. It's probably not the healthiest thing, but listen, if you're starving, you're not going to care. You're going to want to eat. With the camping foods, Happy Yak and Mountain House, it's simple. They come in a pouch. You just add hot water. It's that easy. Other protein that travels well. Well, you brought up a new sponsor, right? Carnivore Foods.
Carnivore snacks. Yeah. Great.
Think about that. You're getting, I don't know, 20, 30 grams of protein at a whack in some of their stuff. There are food bars. I think they're called Daytrex bars, and there's also one called SOS bars. It comes in a brick of like nine bars and about 3,600 calories total. It's about that big. And it's good for 20 plus years. You can also, and I would encourage you to pack protein bars, just regular old protein bars that you get from the supermarket. You'll have to rotate them out more frequently than the other stuff, but they're great to have on hand. Tasty pastries. Listen, those things aren't as good as what Carl says. They're better. I will be buying them by the case. I ran out a day or two ago, and fortunately, my loving wife went out to the health food store and got me some more. They're that good. But also, it's important that you know this. Even if you have a couple of those, not a lot of them, you'll be shocked if you've ever been caught in a survival situation. Little things like that are a huge morale.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're not starving. There's something else worth noting here, and this is something that you can even speak to, and that is learn to hunt. I've been hunting since I was a kid, so it's no big deal for me, but I'm always surprised at the number of people that have never, ever hunted. And you don't have to be a big game hunter. You don't have to go after bear or deer, rabbit. Hell, I've eaten red squirrel. It's really very good. Learn to hunt, because if you really believe in your heart that we're coming to a point in time where you may have to bug out, and I mean, you're not going to live in the woods, but I have deer in my backyard. If things got really tough and I knew I was going to starve, I wouldn't use a rifle. I'd use my crossbow. I'd take a deer and process it in the backyard, and I'd have meat to eat for the next, 4 or 5 months easily. So if you really think that you're worried, like, oh, the United States is in trouble, learn to hunt. It's easy.
Or fish.
Yeah, there you go.
That's even easier. But no, those are great. Those are great suggestions. The one important upside that I want you to know about things like bars and tasty pastries and carnivore foods, they don't require any preparation.
Right.
And while that doesn't sound like a big deal as I sit here in my central air, condo, when you get out into the field, your fine motor skills start to go. And it's kind of subtle at first, but it's a really, important thing that you're able to get some sort of sustenance without having to go through an entire preparation process that you may or may not be able to do anymore. I know that sounds weird. I know it sounds like, what's he talking about? That'll never happen. Never is a long time. I've seen some pretty extreme things in my life that people thought would never happen. Just a consideration. Otherwise, things like rice and beans and ramen noodles.
Well, look what Finn Mackey said. I never even thought of this. Plant potatoes in the woods near your home.
Yeah, but don't do what I did and buy big bags of potatoes because they're gonna, what is it called when they spud?
And you want them to spud because organic potatoes and non-genetically modified potatoes will sprout roots.
Okay.
You want those.
Okay.
Because the potatoes that they use at fast food stores, they don't want those little eyes that your mother used to cut out.
Yep.
They want an unblemished potato for their French fries. So they actually spray and modify the potatoes so that they don't sprout. They don't grow.
Yeah.
But organic potatoes, naturally grown potatoes, they will always sprout. You can still eat them and you can plant them.
Nuts are one of the final ones I'll recommend. Nuts are great because although they're sort of heavy, they pack a lot of caloric energy. Why? Because they're fats, right? Most of them have a lot of fat in them. That's a really good thing when you're planning for some sort of long-term event, as is the last thing I'll recommend, salt. Think about it. How did they keep foods from spoiling way back in the old days? They salted them, a lot of them. Salt will also allow you to keep more water in your body. I'm not saying, start drinking from salt shakers, but a little sodium when you're in a situation like that can help a lot, not just from a taste perspective. So hopefully I've given you some ideas there. I don't mean to panic anybody, but there's a difference between panic and prepared. Just make sure you're prepared.
Real quick, couple questions from live listeners. First of all, we have to say hello to Carrie Kruger in Victoria, South Africa. She was not well recently, and the fact that she's here is very promising. How are you, Carrie? Hope you're doing well.
I talked to her earlier today. It's a true inspiration. Talk about strength.
Okay, and maybe we need to have her on the show. Maybe we need to have her on the Blueprint Power.
Great idea.
Question from Bro Do You Even Talrow on YouTube. Any advice on running push-pull legs off upper lower off splits? And do you think it would make any difference to do pull first rather than push if I'm going to deadlift and squat on lower body days?
If he's talking about a push-pull on the same day, I would tell you it's great for hypertrophy because you can perform jump sets. So one push movement supersetted with a pull movement, rest, rinse, wash, repeat. As far as which move to start with, it's, in my mind anyway, whatever movement that takes the most out of you, or I should say takes the most energy to perform. You're going to do your deadlifts a lot more justice if you do them first versus do them last. The only exception to that rule would be if you have a lagging body part to bring up.
Prioritize.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, it's their back. So don't start with a push movement. Start with a pull movement. Maybe do an extra set or two to add volume to that pull until such time as you have no more imbalances. I like to, push pull. I had that day yesterday. I like it very much. My other day is legs. And when I say legs, it's quads, hams, calves, and the rest of it. But it seems to work well, especially when you're starting to lift high poundages, let's say, total volumes of work. I've always preferred a split routine to whole body. That's not to say you can't do a whole body and be successful, but I think
takes a lot. As I start to get stronger, I can't do whole body.
No, you're exactly right. Thank you.
Real quick, Robert Thompson, acupuncture for getting your body into balance. I'm not a big believer in acupuncture.
I've only had a couple of sessions. I can't say that it made a major difference. But then again, it depends, I think, on what you're using it for.
You know what? The idea that you can take a pin and put it in a region of my body and say that you're hitting complex nerves running through my body. Our nerves don't run through our body in the same exact place, yours and mine. And I mean, I'm sure your sciatic nerve goes down your leg differently than mine. I've never been a big fan of acupuncture. Just not.
I wish I had more experience with it to tell you. I was not in pain then. I'm not now. So, maybe it does work for people that are in pain. I don't know, but I'm not one of them.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have the blueprint tip of the day. And then at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Mark Ritz. And I think another guest that I wasn't prepared for. It looks like Sylvia from Carnivore Snacks to talk about this amazing product. I love it. I ate them all the day I got them. Stay tuned. If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Abundance. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that. Do this. Avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Inside Tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside. Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/ shr.network.biz/betterhelp. That's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High quality, pasture raised, great tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose to tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. What is the blueprint tip of the day, Coach?
Tip of the day is more now than ever, health needs to be synonymous with muscle. And I guess sort of ironic, right? Given my wife's current situation. So a few episodes ago, I made the point that it's not just muscle that matters. It's your underlying health. Some people just don't get this and think what we do is all about vanity. Case in point, my wife's sister. For some reason, she always feels the need to take Jen down a peg. And lately it was kind of admonishing her for exercising too much. And, you shouldn't be concerned about fitting into your clothes, especially at your age. It's ridiculous. And so, as you can imagine, that makes, she feels bad about herself and has some, her sister, that is, has some very serious underlying medical conditions. But instead of doing something about it, she takes digs at people like, Jen that do. But she's certainly not the only one. I've met a lot of people like that. It still perplexes me. I have also spoken about my frustration with my dad, who, by the way, now lays in a hospital bed in Boston, waiting to find out if he's going to lose his sight or not. And so when I pointed out to him that his diabetes was, if it wasn't the cause of this, then it certainly is not helping, right? I mean, you would think that would be common sense. His response was, he said, nah. He said, they tested me. My A1C was fine. It came back at 7. Think about that. He thinks 7 is fine. Okay. And add to that the fact that he's had issues with, he said, my fingertips, the skin keeps cracking. He lost recently an unexplainable 10 pounds. And he feels fatigued and weak. I tried one last time to tell him, you got to get with the program and at least start eating better. Honest to God truth, that very night, 2 nights ago, was when I had this discussion with him. His wife ordered a pizza, had it delivered, and that's what they ate for dinner. And no, I am not kidding.
Well, didn't you say that your dad loves his ice cream, right? Is it ice cream that he likes, or Oreo cookies or something that he loves to eat?
Sweets. He even has a candy dish next to his recliner in his bedroom, and he's diabetic. So, think about that.
Think about this, reclining and eating sugar at the same time. It's like let me get in the most comfortable, non-energy expending position, and let me eat sugar.
But think about the position he's in now. He might lose his sight. It breaks my heart, but the first thing I thought of, he's not going to see his grandson graduate high school or college. That's some pretty intense stuff. Now, let me bring this back to you, the listener. Specifically, we're going to talk about waiting, because at some point as you age, you start to contemplate your mortality. For me, it was going to more than one funeral for guys that I knew who died in their 40s, guys that I grew up with, guys that had good jobs and families. In short, they had a lot to live for. So do I, right? So I'm looking at this, and I elected to get more proactive tests done, for my health. A little more frequent blood work, that calcium screen I mentioned last week, that kind of thing. Even when there's nothing wrong, you got to wait, right? You got to wait for the results of that test to come in. And while you're waiting, you take inventory of what you've done and maybe what you haven't done. Did I bulk up too fast and carry too much body weight for too long? What about that pre-workout that worked a little too well that I kept using? Is that going to hurt me down the line? Did I use antibiotics? If I did use antibiotics, did I put as much emphasis on taking protective nutrients along with them as I should have? Even assuming no antibiotic use, did I stay away from other, a lot more dangerous, in my opinion, recreational drugs? Most of them, the ones that really do the damage, including RX drugs. I'm going to include that in that group. And was I taking a preventative, even if it was just ginger, curcumin, or fish oil, right? And what about my heart and lungs? Did I do justice to my conditioning work the same way I did with the weights? Of course, these things are no guarantee of good health, but believe me, while you're waiting, they weigh on you, and they weigh on you very, very heavily. I think because there's no going back. There's no going back to fix that. You can't correct it. It is what it is, and you can't change it. By the way, if you're in your teens or 20s and you're listening to this, you don't think it applies to you, think again. Youth is no free pass. People can and do still get sick or worse at a very young age. In fact, at least my understanding of how the body works, in my opinion, it is in youth that may be the most important time.
Right. That's when the fractures, when the fissures in health are placed.
Right.
Because you don't see the symptoms for 10, 15 years.
Right. But the cracks in the dam have started.
Right.
They're just so fine, like you said, you don't notice them yet. So everything I talk about here every week, the training, the diet, the sleep, the supplements, the drugs, whatever it may be, all of that, especially the food that you eat, literally builds right into your structure. You do the right things, you're going to build a house of bricks. You do the wrong things, you're going to build a house of straw. You do some mix of those two, you're going to have brick and you're going to have straw. Sooner or later, the cold wind blows. And whether your house is still standing or not depends upon everything that I'm saying here. Linus Pauling said it best on his deathbed, I thought. He said, host cell resistance is the key. You do the right things, and that's what you will be building, host cell resistance. Finally, and this is something that I took a long time to understand. You can't change the world. You can't change other people's behavior. It breaks my heart, but I can't help my dad now. Nobody can. The time to fix things was 20 years ago. But, only he controls what crossed his lips during those 20 years. it should be obvious then that nobody can change the world's, collective behavior, or even someone like you love, like your father. What you can do is try to change your little corner of it and maybe encourage others. That's what I'm doing with my son and his friend, right? By training him twice a week, and we talk about diet and importance of sleep and staying away from drugs and blah, blah, blah. And so I think, to the extent possible, at least, you should absolutely do that and identify whatever little corner of the world is yours and try to affect some positive change. You'll never know what that might mean to somebody. It could be the difference between somebody getting sick, not getting sick, dying and living, cancer, no cancer. That's a huge, huge deal.
Go to CoachRobRegish.com to learn more. Sign up for the Blueprint Bulletin and get this kind of stuff sent right to your email address. Rob, we'll see you next week. Hopefully Jen is feeling better. Yep. And I'll talk to you later today, okay?
Thank you.
Right. We're going to take one quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about something I'm really excited about, and that's carnivore snacks, because I love meat, all kinds of meat, especially the kind that's convenient and comes in a little package that's delicious and you can eat it whenever you want. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today. Attention meat lovers. I've discovered a snack with just 2 ingredients, meat and salt. That is so tender and delicious, you almost can't believe it. That's right, no soy, sugar, or other crap. Our partner, Carnivore Snacks, nailed it with these mouth-watering snacks. They have a variety too: ribeye, pork loin, leg of lamb, and more, all sourced here in the USA from regenerative farms. Claim your superhuman offer from Carnivore Snacks today at shrnetwork.biz/snacks. That's SNAX. Use the code superhuman for 15% off your first order, plus a free 2-ounce pork loin. Abundance. If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, blueberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Hey, welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We're joined by two guests today. A surprise guest, Sylvia. Sylvia, what's your last name? Is it Sylvia or Sylvia?
It's Sylvia. It's Polish, and we read W as a V. So
okay, Sylvia. Perfect. And what's your last name, Sylvia?
Tabor, or Tabor.
Tabor. And then we have Mark Ritz. That's an easy name. Thanks a lot for doing that, Mark.
Yeah, no problem.
So this interview has been a long time coming because your product is so successful, so popular that for a while there, because you labor to source all of your animal protein from farms. I think you guys actually do business with White Oak Pastures, right?
That's our main source.
Yeah. So this product is unbelievable. It's like nothing. Look, we've had sponsors come on with beef jerky. We've had sponsors come on with biltong. You know, they're all interesting. They're all novelties. They each have their own kind of twist on meat snacks. I've never seen anything like carnivore snacks before. Nothing. Because here's it's hard to even describe it. It's paper thin. The animal flesh itself is crispy yet tender. When you put it in your mouth and it absorbs the moisture from your mouth, it gets instantly tender, but it starts out almost crispy, like you can crack it. But the fat, the magic is in the fat. The fat is amazing. It melts in your mouth. It's like ambrosia. So Sylvia, you developed this product. Was it an accident? Did you do it on purpose? How did this happen?
It was kind of accidental. My aunt, she owns a dog treat business, and she was having the equipment there, and I kind of started experimenting with her equipment on my own, and one and two came together, and here you have Carnivore snacks.
So you set out to make this paper thin. That had to be hard. It has to be hard to shave this kind of meat paper thin like that.
Yeah, that wasn't easy, but with the right equipment, kind of figured it out. Then, like I said, it took a little bit to get to where it's at right now. It started with just a knife, and the early stages of it were a little bit different. Let's put it that way. But yeah, it took a lot of research, experimenting, different equipment, upgrading equipment, and that's how now we have what we have right now.
And lamb, Mark, that's one that's kind of, a lot of people make meat snacks, but people don't generally make meat snacks out of lamb, and that's got to be a really popular product for you. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's done really well. The flavor is just, we feel like the flavor of the farms from which we source regeneratively produce just a much better product. And it's done extremely well. Obviously, the fat on that also carries a ton of flavor. And I think the carnivore community loves to kind of have their options at each different animal cut.
Pork loin is fantastic. In fact, we have a special offer right now where if people use our code, get this up here. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/snacks, NSAX, and use the code Superhuman, you'll not only get 15% off, but you get a free pork loin, which is delicious. Now, Are there other pork products out there in the meat snack arena?
I mean, nobody's doing it like quite like us. I mean, there's maybe a couple other companies, but with us, it's a texture thing. I mean, everybody is always sending messages like, how do you guys do it? They're always calling our product, or the nickname for it is a meat pastry, which I find to be perfect, just because a lot of the other ones out there you'll find are somewhat very thin and very brittle. And I think you kind of had a great description when you started. It turns to tender, and it's just very easy to eat. And surprisingly, the pork is by far the most popular product. Everybody wants to come in and buy the ribeye, which is the premium product, the most expensive. But once they try the pork, it's like there's no going back.
Adam, who's watching on Facebook right now, says there is a pork jerky product out there, but it's terrible. I can tell you. So you guys were gracious enough to send me some product. I have to tell you that anybody who speaks Italian, I'm a gavone, means that's like a hog in Italian. Somebody who just said, be careful, he'll eat your food too. I ate all that stuff in about a day. It was too good to put down. It's like every time I took another piece of something and I would put it in my mouth, it would literally crackle as I chewed it. But then it got so soft and tender. And before I know it, it was gone. I swallowed it. I was like, oh, I got to have another one now. It's amazing to me. I've never seen any type of animal protein prepared this way. I think you guys have stumbled onto something that's going to be a game changer you've raised the bar. There's no doubt about it. You know, in the past, it was just good enough but it's meat and I want meat. Now it's like clunk, clunk. It's like eating chips of meat. It's amazing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's super satiating. And that's the big difference is like there are people out there trying to make chips. And even though we do call our product Carnivore Snacks, it doesn't take much to feel satiated. When you have that kind of pastry feel rather than the brittleness, I think that's really where you're going to find that this is pretty amazing.
So how did the company start? Sylvia created this product, but you're kind of like the business guy. How do you guys team up and go, wow, this is great. We need to start selling this stuff.
Sylvia was in the carnivore community, and she kind of was one of the first really to the carnivore, where carnivore took off. And then she kind of has a really cool story with her carnivore diet and her healing journey.
Tell me about it. Tell me about your journey, Sylvia.
Well, I've went through a crazy necrotizing fasciitis infection and was in ICU for a very long time. And I was on many antibiotics because they couldn't figure out what was going on. So now I'm left with these scars on my abdomen, and people think that I was attacked by a grizzly bear or something. But it was just necrotizing fasciitis. And after that whole adventure with that, I couldn't basically eat anything. And I was reactive to everything. My gut hurt just from drinking plain water. And I heard Dr. Sean Baker talk about carnivore diet and how many people heal their digestion with that. And so I just went on that and started carnivore diet. And within basically a week, a lot of the symptoms I was having, the joint pain, just went away. And I started feeling stronger and healthier. And I kind of continue on that for 3 years afterwards. And then I haven't really fully healed on carnivore. I know that there are things that are beneficial that are not carnivore that can be used to heal the digestive system. So I kind of dove into that part and then started introducing other things. But that's kind of how Carnivore Snacks started, because after a while I moved to California and my job required me to travel all over, pretty much 12 hours a day just driving. And I did not have time to stop and get meat. And for me, I used to be vegan, like everybody
Really?
probably at some point, yes.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I was vegan for 4 years. Then I had a year when I just was eating strictly fruit and that messed me up even more when it came to my gut too. But I learned a lot about regenerative farming and how important it is to actually support animals or regenerative farms. So that's kind of why I wanted to start a company that was beneficial not only for human body, but was also good for the environment as well. So I learned a lot about environment. I learned a lot about human diet. And like Mark mentioned before, I was already in the carnivore community and many people wanted steak on the go. So basically that's kind of, I had the idea, I had kind of like the prototype that needed a little bit of improvement. And then I reached out to Mark and I asked him, how do I do this? I just want to sell some product. Like, do I go on Etsy and just create an Etsy account and just sell it there? And from there, he kind of, it started building out and now it's just exploding. So that's kind of how it all started.
There are lots of meat snacks out there today, but most of them, to be honest with you, like I eat them because there's really no other alternatives for convenience and to eat, because I eat a lot of meat. I eat at least a pound of red meat a day, and I've been doing that for a very, very long time. I don't consider myself carnivore because I eat potatoes and stuff like that too. But it's not, you sacrifice flavor, you sacrifice the enjoyability because it fits what you're looking for. Oh, it's meat. This is a game changer. This is the first meat snack. Look, I'm going to be honest. I have bags of biltong here from a previous sponsor. I'm not crazy about it because it has the wrong spices and it repeats on me. I burp up the rosemary and all that. Those bags that you sent me, they didn't have a chance. When I realized how good they tasted, I binge eat them. I couldn't stop eating them because they were so delicious. And I'm telling you, those of you watching or listening to the podcast, you buy these one time, you will never, ever be without them. In fact, if you buy these and you don't like them, I'll buy them from you because I'll eat them in an afternoon and it won't be any loss to me. This stuff is so. Mark, where do you come from? What's your background? Have you been in the supplement industry, the food industry? Where do you come from?
I have been somewhat in the food industry. About 4.5 years ago, I started my own company where it was a membership site that offered, vetted, clean products, kind of like a Costco model. And that's where I met Sylvia, and she was supportive of that. And that was my first business, and I kind of learned everything not to do. And when Sylvia reached out and just asked me, hey, do you know somebody that could build a website? And I said, tell me more. I kind of knew the route to take from the beginning. And I knew that Sylvia just kind of did it the right way with almost not knowing. She built a following just by sharing her value and her offering and her carnivore journey. And that ended up being the initial audience that helped us get everything started. And I mean, our Kickstarter went phenomenally well. And after we were able to deliver product, it's just been amazing. And so I'm the guy behind the computer that makes the magic happen. She's the one who makes the product.
Creator. She's the creator, right? It's a great product. It really, really is. How long has it been out? Sylvia, when did you first start selling these snacks?
Well, the Kickstarter we launched, Mark, when was that exactly? I don't even remember.
April.
April. Yeah, that's when we did the Kickstarter. Our fulfillment for that we started shipping out, I believe, in October of last year. So it was actually around that time that the whole COVID hit. So we were kind of skeptical and not knowing what's going to happen with that because places were shutting down and the processing facilities were shutting down. So we were very worried about that, but we did well. So since then we've been running, so not even a year, December. I would say. Yeah, since December when
December. So it's been about 6 months we've been launched.
Has Dr. Baker, Sean Baker was on my show in 2014 before anybody knew who he was, because he had started a website called N equals Many. And he was trying to get people to go carnivore so that he can gather their data. They would go get blood work and stuff like that. And so I've been a big supporter of his mission for a very, very long time. Has he gotten behind your product at all?
Oh, yeah, he has. He's gotten
Absolutely.
a lot of
Yeah.
product.
He said he tried many and he loves us best. So
It is. It is.
Yeah.
If you spend even a nickel on meat snacks right now, divert that nickel into carnivore snacks. You will not be disappointed. You will love their product. You will, I mean, and this is whole meat, like the shape of the pork loin. It's round, just like a pork loin would be. It's not like chopped up and pressed back together and all that sort of stuff. It's good meat sliced very thin and then dehydrated in such a way that it retains the flavor, the fat, the texture of the fat. It just melts on your tongue. And like I said, when you first take that first bite, it kind of is crisp a little bit, but then it just softens up in your mouth and it disappears. It literally melts in your mouth. You know, in Italian, saltimbocca means to jump in your mouth. If you've ever gone to an Italian restaurant and ordered veal saltimbocca, which has prosciutto, spinach, it has a white sauce on it, that veal saltimbocca means veal that's so delicious it just jumps in your mouth. That's what this product is. It really is. It's so delicious. You can't stop eating it. You can't. Wonderful.
I'll take it.
And I'm so proud that you guys are sponsors and be on the show, because my biggest problem is finding products that I believe in, so that I'm not telling my audience, oh, buy this product, and then I know it's going to suck. This is a great product. I'm very, very excited about you guys being here. Really.
We're definitely stoked to have you behind it. And I mean, for your listeners, you know, I mean, the things beyond just the product, which is, you know, easy to talk about forever. You know, we use a 100% U.S. supply chain. That's very rare to find nowadays. All the meat obviously comes from the U.S. farmers, even as far as our packaging. We don't buy a single thing outside of this country. We don't believe in doing that right now. We want to keep everything here. And it's very important to us in terms of the environment. You know, we are partnered. We're one of just over 50 brands that are land to market verified. And so that is the seal of verification to show that these farms are 100% farming regeneratively and having a negative impact on the emissions. So we go to every length that we possibly can to produce what is, you know, in our minds, the highest quality product out there. We do hope that this becomes a lot more popular. These things become more popular. So, you know, potentially the cost could come down one day on the product.
Sure,
but we're gonna stay the course,
because the bigger you get, then there's more efficiencies. Mm-hmm. And then the product becomes less expensive, and I can see that happening someday.
And it's part of the education.
The more farms that
Exactly.
become conscious about becoming regenerative, doing regenerative farming, then you'll have more suppliers to choose from, and they'll be competitive, and you'll be able to source product less expensive, blah 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 blah, blah all the way down. So yeah, I'm
100%.
sure.
There's just a handful of farms that we can even source from right now to remain compliant.
Right.
So.
I want to promote this one more time. So the website URL is shrnetwork.biz/snacks, SNAX. Use the code superhuman, all one word. I think you got to use it in caps. If you do lowercase and it doesn't work, I don't know. You just try it all in caps. You'll get 15% off your first order. Plus, you'll get a free 2-ounce pork loin, which is unbelievable. If you look at the pictures of the product, and when you get the product and you open it, it has the shape of the original piece of meat, like the ribeye. You take it out, and I actually have a picture. I have to find it. I laid it on a plate by itself, you know, and it's so thin, but it looked like a ribeye steak on my plate. It was beautiful. I got to find that picture. I just remembered I took that picture so long ago because there was a lag between getting you guys on the air. I'll find that picture and post it. I was astonished when I opened the first pack, and every single piece of carnivore snacks resembles the meat that it came from. You know right away, except the sliders, right? The sliders are just kind of like they're punched out of steak to be round, right?
That's just mostly ground meat. So like ground beef, yeah. We have pork sliders. All of our sliders are basically ground meat.
Right. And they're beautiful. They're like little round chips. They're perfect. In fact, I had them with guacamole one night, the sliders.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was like, because I don't like corn chips. I don't like corn chips. They don't agree with me. I don't like to eat corn. And so one night, Elisa and I says, I wonder if look at that. And I used it with guacamole. So it was great. Really, really good.
Yeah, I feel like the sliders are perfect for any dip because they tend to be a little bit more drier, especially the beef sliders. So they go amazing with salsa, guacamole. I eat them with sour cream. So yeah, they're definitely perfect for dipping.
Again, the product is called Carnivore Snacks. They're a new sponsor. Show them love. If you get anything from this show, it's because of the sponsors. So always patronize the sponsors whenever possible. There is nothing else out there like this. shrnetwork.biz/snacks, SNAX. Use the code SUPERHUMAN, 15% off plus a free 2-ounce pork loin. You will thank me. And I want to thank you guys for being sponsors and being here today.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Take care. We'll have you back again, okay? Nice meeting both of you.
Sounds good.
Nice to
see you guys.
All right, that's it for today's show. We have shows the rest of the week. Hope you can tune in. If you can't tune in live, there's always the replay and the podcast. And, of course, share the show. Always share the show. Help us help others by sharing the show. We'll see everybody tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Thanks for being here today.
Yes.